Hi Timothy, Daphne here. Hope you're well. Thank you for sending in your next essays. Good to see you working so hard through this next collection of essays. You are doing amazingly. We are all really impressed by how hard you work. Your determination is really excellent. Really, really great stuff. Okay, so this is a table, and what I've done is I've sent you a link as well. In fact, there's a podcast which I've sent you a link to, which is going to talk about this very table. So you'll probably find that more useful than listening to me. But anyway, I'm going to go through yours, and then you can listen and see what you think as well. Okay. So essentially, it's the same principle doing this as doing a pie chart or even a comparative pie chart, because obviously you've got a lot of information in here. You're going to do the same as you always do. Choose the most interesting things to talk about, choose the biggest contrasts. I mean, it's interesting here, obviously this is huge, and you know, the biggest here by quite a long way. I mean, almost double that. We've got this, which is really, really small compared to this. So there's some quite interesting things to say in this. Okay, so the table considers the consumption. Okay, so that's good instead of consumer spending of three different sectors, including food, drink, tobacco, clothing, footwear, leisure, education. Okay, I mean, you can say these, obviously, I mean, because it's difficult to paraphrase, but you could. So 10 different or areas of spending, areas of domestic spending, something like that. Just to show the examiner that you don't have to repeat all this, because this is quite kind of boring. In Ireland, yeah, or in a range of European countries, or I mean, Turkey is kind of not very European, but almost, or in a range of Western countries in the year 2012. So I think it's important to try and add some paraphrasing if you can, okay, because at least even if you can't paraphrase everything, you're showing the examiner that you get the idea. So you've done consumption, which is fine, but I think maybe you could do a little bit more there. So overall, the consumption of, so it, yeah, consumer spending is not the same as exactly consumption, but overall, okay, the proportion of income spent on. So little things like this will help you, just because you are basically showing more vocabulary and you're not repeating yourself here. Spent on food, yep, represents the highest in each country. Good, nice superlative, while good contrast, the leisure and education, the areas of, or the leisure and education sector. Either the leisure and education sector or leisure and education undoubtedly was the lowest contributor, followed by clothing and okay. Now it's not the lowest contributor because it's how much they contributed to that sector. It's not this sector doing the contributing. So you'd have to get this into the passive. Was you'd have to say was the least spent on, kind of thing. The least was the least was the sector invested in the least. Do you see the difference? Because this isn't doing the investing. The people are doing the investing. Okay, and so just watch out for that. Just make sure it's sort of grammatically correct. Okay, so we're just going to add that in there. Turkey consumed. Now, Turkey cannot consume. Turkey is a country cannot consume. But Turkish people, yes, nice. Turkish citizens. Turkish citizens consumed, yeah, 4%. Yeah, but it's not really consumed, is it? We have to be careful here. Spent or invested of income on, okay, this So we have to be a little bit careful on the grammar here, don't we? Almost double the amount of the total expenditure on leisure and yes, excellent. Furthermore, there was a slight difference. You can't have mere difference, but you can have a slight difference of around 3% in this between yes, really nice. Okay, comma there before respectively. That's excellent. As for clothing and footwear, good. Italy made the highest contribution at yeah, I would turn it around. The highest contribution was made by Italy at exactly 9, whereas the lowest was made by Sweden. That's absolutely perfect. In terms of leisure and education, Ireland had approximately 2% of purchases. Of overall, overall or total purchases, almost 3 times less than that of clothing and footwear. Italy and Sweden invested about the same amount of money in clothing and footwear. However, link this together. However, in contrast, Spain only spent, which was, rather than being, just put which was. So going to a relative clause here, which was the least among all 5 countries. Okay, so really nice. So you're good here. You're absolutely fine. You've done this very, very well. Same principle. Okay, you're comparing, you're contrasting, you're using your superlatives and everything. What is difficult about this is this word consumer spending. So consumer spending is a little bit different from consumption, because they can consume a lot, but they might not necessarily spend a lot on it. So we do need to get this idea of spending in there. But Tim, I think you've done a good job there. You have definitely noted the most important points. And what you've also done, which is really nice, this flows very well, this bit. You've made some lovely contrasts between the different bits of data. So that's good, that one. Okay, this is interesting, isn't it? Parents, usually mothers, stay at home to look after their families. People believe that for this they should receive a salary from the government. Do you agree or disagree, and why? Okay. It has become increasingly prevalent that mothers choose to leave their careers behind and stay at home to raise their child, while fathers take on the breadwinner role to offer a stable income for their families. Okay. I think you need something like in today's world. Modern world, something a bit blah 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 at the beginning. Do you remember? I think we might have said that before. Just a little bit more general at the beginning. It's become increasingly prevalent that mothers choose to. Yes, or might be better, prevalent for mothers to leave their careers. So increasingly prevalent for mothers to leave their careers behind and stay at home to raise their child, while fathers take on the primary breadwinner role. Breadwinner role to offer a stable income for their families or for the family. Yeah, because it's not, the father doesn't have lots of families, it's the family. Okay. Really nice one here. Increasingly prevalent, excellent. Leave their careers behind, very good. Raise their child, nice. Breadwinner role, stable income. Lots of super vocabulary in there, and it's a complex sentence as well. Some argue that parents should receive financial compensation for the government. Now, it's just that it's the mothers, yeah? So that you could have here so what we call it is stay-at-home parents is what we call them. So stay-at-home parents, and you could even put it in inverted commas to show that this sort of name, stay-at-home parents, should receive financial compensation from the government for their sacrifices. In this essay, I'll explain why I agree and provide. Yep, lovely. Whoa, fantastic, Tim. Great start. Okay. Now, I think when I read this through, I love the conditional sentence, but I think to start off with a conditional, again, I think it needs softening a little bit. So experts argue that. For me, this is like, introduce it to me gently. Experts argue that if governments provided financial aid, it is plural anyway, to new mothers, it could lead to unfairness and resentment for those who are still in the workforce. This is due to the fact that some mothers would rather opt for childcare in order to remain in employment, just in employment. Yeah. So that they're able to support their newborn financially. Good. I mean, also if they're on a career path, gain employment, so they are able to continue their careers. And I think this is important to have this idea that they are not, it's not just they want to look after the baby. They might want to keep working. A recent article published by the BBC reveals that 60% of new mothers stated they are capable of balancing between balancing maternal employee roles by working part-time, negotiating working hours with their company, and even working online. Excellent. Really good. 3. 1, 2, 3. And they would feel disempowered if the government did not acknowledge their capacity to parent. Fantastic. Yeah, really, really lovely. I love that. It's a very clear example. You've got some fantastic work in here. Capable of balancing, yep. And then you've got working, negotiating, and working again. Negotiating, could we not repeat working? We've got a lot of working in here. And negotiating company hours. Anything you can think of instead of just repeating working, working, working. Yeah. Disempowered, excellent. And your conditionals are fantastic here. Therefore, it's conclusively clear that providing financial support to new parents might cause some negative. Might cause some negative if you can cause an effect. Might create or lead to some negative effects, or might cause negative stress, maybe something like that. I don't think you can cause an effect. I'm not quite sure about that. This doesn't quite sound right, but essentially, it's a very, very good paragraph, Tim. However, it should not be forgotten that financial stress is a key contributing factor to poor mental health in new parents. This is mostly because the majority of new parents struggle to manage their budgets and worry constantly. You don't need to repeat they. Just keep on going and constantly worry. You should actually put the adverb here. Worry constantly about not being able to provide adequate clothing, education, and shelter to their toddlers. Okay? For instance, so excellent. Empirical research studies by I don't think you need empirical research and studies. I will go empirical research or recent studies. Do one or the other. By the UK government show that 40% of new mothers have developed mental health illnesses such as anxiety, postnatal depression. So if you've got two of them, just put or and. As a result of the financial burden, increased financial burden and feeling worthless and inadequate in providing care for their children. Okay, so I really like your vocabulary all the way through here. This is excellent. Feeling worthless, inadequate, providing care. Really, really strong here, Tim. It's looking great. Thus, if governments, my favourite, third conditional, super wow, had taken action to alleviate financial pressures in new families, the epidemic of mental health issues in new parents would have been. Now, my only point here is I would put could or might, because just slightly different. So would suggests more yes, absolutely, no doubt. Could or might would be better here. Might have been significantly reduced, but otherwise this is perfect. It is unusual, the third conditional. It is difficult to use, and you've done that immaculately. Well done indeed. So you would be scoring extremely highly on the grammar and on the lexis vocabulary, as well as the coherence, and on task achievement. Obviously, this is very, very good. Now, opinion. Here we go. In conclusion, despite financial compensation, despite the fact that, now you can't have despite the fact that financial compensation might discredit the efforts by working parents, I completely agree that new families need barriers, maybe not barriers, needs challenges, sacrifices. This is a good word, because like if you were working professionally and then you have to stop, sacrifices and possible hardships. should be acknowledged by the government by providing financial support. Excellent. Top essay. Very, very good indeed. Well done. Great work.